Hello and welcome to another episode of All in a Day of Sports. I'm your host Salman. I'm very excited to get into this episode. I'm going to recap some things that happened in the last day of the trade deadline, which was after the last episode released. We're going to talk a little bit more about the NFL as the season starts heating up. And then just get into some other good stuff. We're going to drop a hot take at the end of the show. So if you've enjoyed those in the past episodes, then hopefully you'll enjoy this one. Just a reminder to follow wherever you can. We are on Instagram, YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and Amazon Music. And as always, just share it with other people you know. That's the best way to help this grow. And if you're not enjoying this, you can always let me know what I can do better. Also, just to let you guys know, there's definitely more good things to come on this podcast. The NFL season will be starting up, and I love football. It's one of my favorite sports, if not my favorite. And so I'm really excited to start talking about that. It's a sport that I don't want to say is simple, but is shorter. So it feels like there's more action packed in a smaller package. It feels like you can really do so much with it. Only 17 games and playoffs, and so I'm really excited for football season as well with college football, and then the MLB postseason will be happening in the middle of all of that. So yeah, I'm really excited. But without any further ado, let's just jump into this episode. So, what did you miss in this last week of sports? Well, we're going to start with the MLB. There's actually not a lot of variety of sports, as have been in the past episodes with, World Cup and then also MLB and then just tennis and other sports, but not a lot of sports happening right now. But was a decent amount of news. And so, we're going to start with the MLB and we're going to start with the trade deadline. Because as you know, these episodes release on Monday morning, and the trade deadline was Monday afternoon evening-ish for the MLB. So there were a few trades that happened in between the episode releasing and the deadline actually happening. So to start, one of the bigger trades of this deadline is Luis Arraez went from the San Francisco Giants to the Philadelphia Phillies. The Phillies got Luis Arraez, obviously, and then pitcher Caleb Killian, and the Giants got Ramon Marquez, who was San Francisco's number 7 prospect, and Marty Gare. And then Marquez is actually obviously now San Francisco's number 7 prospect, as he is no longer with the Phillies. I think this is a pretty good trade for the Phillies all in all, because Luis Arraez is a very solid, consistent hitter. He was he had the crown for batting average 3 seasons in a row, not this past season, but he's currently at a 320 batting average, which is second in the MLB. And with the 2023 Marlins, he had a 354, which is obviously a very high batting average. And so this is a very consistent move. I think it'll be hard for the Phillies to make a play for the division, as they're 8.5 games back behind the Braves. I mean, anything is possible. And I think it'll be a little hard for them to make up ground in the wild card race, which will most likely be the Cubs they're fighting against. I think this is more a postseason move, as it is very nice to get people on base consistently, which is where Arraez comes in. Also, another trade that happened, Jose Soriano got traded from the Angels to the Toronto Blue Jays. Soriano gained a lot of popularity this season because he only allowed 1 run in his first 6 starts. However, he has been struggling a lot lately. This is also a very interesting trade for Toronto because they just got rid of their guy, Gausman, and now is getting another pitcher, Soriano. And so it looks like they're just cycling players and and got another pitcher. The Blue Jays aren't in a very competing mode right now, nor are the Angels, but just a big name being moved. And probably the biggest, I wouldn't know, definitely not the biggest because of Tarek Skubal, but a top 5 trade in this deadline, I would say, is that Adley Rutschman got traded from the Orioles to the Red Sox. The Red Sox got Adley Rutschman and Jake Rogers, also some cash, and the Orioles got, this was a lot, Anthony Ayanson, who is now Baltimore's number 1 prospect, Kason Witherspoon, Andy Zokar, and Carlos Narvaez, and also a player to be named later or cash considerations. And this was a big trade because the Red Sox gave up a lot. But I think it kind of shows that they're trying to win now. They've obviously been a very positive team lately. They had a 15-game win streak, and then recently 9-game win streak, which they just lost. But I think the Red Sox really could be competitive. If you saw last week's predictions, it definitely is a move that makes them competitive now, but they might regret this in future years. So they really have to make a run in the postseason this year, I would say, to make this worth it. Rutschman is obviously a young and solid catcher. And then also, Dalton Varsho got traded. The Blue Jays were really dealing away this deadline, and the Astros got Varsho, and it was just a 1-for-1. And the Blue Jays got Spencer Arrighetti. I don't have much to comment about this trade. Obviously the Astros are trying to compete maybe a little more. The Blue Jays aren't competing, so yeah. Uh, and then also, I told you guys to watch last week the Cubs and Dodgers series because Skubal made his start on Tuesday. He actually only allowed 2 runs, but the Dodgers ended up losing to the Cubs and they got swept that series. Moving on to the NFL. This was actually a pretty busy week, especially I would say for the summer. As you guys know, the preseason started, but also a few extensions and signings happened along with injuries. So to start, this is not in the order of which it happened, but I will go in the order of highest paid to lowest paid. So Jahmyr Gibbs got got an extension from the Lions, $67.5 million for 3 years. This made him the highest paid running back in the NFL. He's obviously very skilled, and I think this is a move the Lions had to make happen. If you listen to a lot of the analysts, you'll understand that the running game of the Lions is very crucial, and especially since Jared Goff isn't so much of a mobile quarterback, the play action is a very important part of his game, so having a strong running back helps contribute to that. Also, Bijan Robinson got a $67 million 3-year extension. He is one of, if not the best, running back in this league. This makes him the second highest paid, and I think Robinson was very much an important part in recent running back history as he was kind of drafted higher, and there was a big conversation when he was drafted in the first round as to how valuable running backs are. And I think these extensions kind of end that period of where people are saying running backs aren't as important. Also, Jonathan Taylor got a 2-year extension from the Indianapolis Colts for $44 million. This makes him the 3rd highest paid running back in the NFL. So just a few big names getting extensions. Stephon Diggs signed with the Commanders. He played with the Patriots last season. This helps the Commanders, who made the NFC Championship 2 years ago. They're obviously trying to compete again. I'm not sure how much this move will help. I don't have too much trust in the Commanders, especially after last season, but they were riddled with injuries. And also, we just learned that Laramie Tunsil's injured, and he most likely will be out for the season. He's a very important part to the Commanders' offensive line. So I just don't see the Commanders being very good. And Stephon Diggs is obviously trying to stay relevant with a young quarterback in Jaden Daniels. In terms of the preseason, if you guys did happen to turn on the Hall of Fame game, it was actually a very good game. Obviously didn't matter, but the Panthers undrafted quarterback Haynes King, who's obviously a backup, had a walk-off scramble to win it, and they played against the Cardinals, in which Carson Beck played majority of the game for them, who was just in the national championship for the Miami Hurricanes. Yeah, and there were just 2 quarterbacks going head to head, obviously fighting for a spot, trying to get signed by a team before the season started. But yeah, it was a good game. And then, obviously, the point of the Hall of Fame game, other than preseason reps, is to honor the Hall of Fame inductees. And so, just to list them off for you, if you missed NFL honors this past season, Drew Brees got to the Hall of Fame, running back Roger Craig, Larry Fitzgerald, Luke Keeley, and then kicker Adam Vinatieri all got inducted into the Hall of Fame this year. Also, one last thing in terms of the NFL, if you like empires and especially defensive line empires, the Rams had Aaron Donald work out with them. It'll be interesting to see if Aaron Donald signs with them, and if he does, he's still an athletic freak. We'll see how much he has left in terms of the defensive line if he does get signed, but him and Myles Garrett would be a very scary line, especially considering Myles Garrett would attract most of the attention, and so Aaron Donald on a single team is a very, very scary dude, regardless of his age. And then in terms of other sports, there wasn't very much. But if you guys are still thinking about the World Cup and FIFA, Gianni Infantino is in some more hot water after an alleged scandal when he was with UEFA. So this could put his seat as FIFA president in more trouble. So that is everything you missed in this last week of sports. Up next, what you should watch. So, what should you watch in this upcoming week of sports? Well, we are not in the football season quite yet. Otherwise, I'd have a list of a few games I think you should watch. So, there isn't very much that I have for you guys, but I think is a very big series in the MLB. The Milwaukee Brewers versus the Los Angeles Dodgers, which is a Thursday, Friday, Saturday series. And Saturday's game is on national television on Fox at 7:15 p.m. Eastern. This is a rematch of last year's NL Championship in which the Brewers swept the Dodgers, and I think this could be a postseason preview. However, both of these teams, the Brewers not so much as the Dodgers, have been struggling lately, but the Brewers did lose 2 games recently. And then also in terms of preseason, I'm not expecting you guys to turn on much. Almost all the backups will be playing, but one team is going to be playing their starters for at least the beginning of the game, which is the Carolina Panthers, who are taking on the Bills at 1 p.m. Eastern on Saturday, which is on NFL Network. So the Panthers will be playing their starters. So I'm just mentioning this if you do want to see some guys who will hopefully be playing late into September and then through the rest of the season. As we never want anyone to get injured. So yeah, that's all I really have for you guys to watch. We are really in that dry season for sports, but just keep on going and we'll eventually get to football season. And up next, my last segment, a hot take for you guys. So, what is my hot take, you ask? I'm really going to play into the NFL hype as we all get excited for this season, as I've mentioned a few times in this episode. But my hot take for you guys is that the New York Giants will make the divisional round in this upcoming season. And you can ask the person, some people will say, yeah, of course I think this. And some people will tell you, you're crazy. So why do I think this? This is not just feeling, though feeling is obviously what starts everything. I'm going to start with the coach in John Harbaugh, who was obviously just the coach of the Baltimore Ravens. And John Harbaugh is a very good coach. And he's being paired with a quarterback in Jackson Dart who has a lot of potential. And Dart last year made a lot of stupid mistakes. So I think a veteran coach can help with that and really help him up his game. Not to mention the fact that Jackson Dart is a very mobile quarterback. And who else was a mobile quarterback that John Harbaugh worked with? Lamar Jackson. I'm in no way comparing Jackson Dart's scrambling ability with Lamar Jackson in terms of how high of a level they are. I would say Jackson Dart is worse, but he's still a very mobile quarterback, and I think that will pair well with John Harbaugh. Also, the New York Giants have a lot of offensive assets. They have Cam Scattaboo, who I think that he is not a long-term running back, is considering his style of play, which is just sticking his head at everything. But he was pretty good last year before he got injured. Malik Neighbors, who was also excellent before he got injured. And then Odell Beckham Jr., who I think hopefully will do better for the sake of my take with his former team. And then they have Isaiah Likely, who's a very solid tight end and kind of got overshadowed a lot in Baltimore, where John Harbaugh was, by Mark Andrews. And so I think the offense is very good. And now moving on to the defense, their defense has so much talent. Now, they didn't have a very good defense last year, but let's just list some players so you can get an understanding of how talented they are. They have Brian Burrs, Thibodeau, Abdul Carter, Tremaine Edmonds, Arvell Reese, and Greg Newsome, just to mention a few players. So this is a team that is very talented, and I think that Denard Wilson is a good upgrade at defensive coordinator for the Giants. And to put it into perspective, a team similar in a similar position last year as the Giants, the Bears, didn't have a very good defense and they made it to the divisional round. The Bears had a lot of turnovers, but if you actually look at their defense, and we may see it as the season moves on, their defense actually wasn't very good last year. And so I think that if the Giants can do something similar to the Bears style, I think that's a team most comparable to them from last year. I think the Giants can make it to the divisional round, and I think that defense is very, very talented. So if they can figure out how to work together, it's going to be what I think is a formidable defense. I also just the Giants have the 17th toughest schedule in the NFL, which is near the middle of the pack. So it's not impossible what faces them. Now it's not a cakewalk like maybe the Patriots of last year, but I think if all the pieces click together, if you have a veteran coach with a young quarterback, a young running back, a young wide receiver, a strong tight end, a talented defense, then I think that you could see the Giants go very far, which is why I think this will happen. Um, and then just to mention a few other things, I think Jackson Dart will be able to work hopefully with a fully healthy Malik Neighbors across the course of the season. I think that will be a very underrated QB and wide receiver duo. And then also, I don't really like Matt Nagy, but he does have the accolades as an offensive coordinator to show that he is good. And as he obviously worked with Mahomes in Kansas City and was good in his first season with the Bears and Mitchell Trubisky. So I think Matt Nagy could maybe contribute a bit, though I do see the main contributor on this offense in terms of coaching as John Harbaugh. So yeah, that's my hot take for this week. I think the New York Giants will make the divisional round. That's all I have for you guys. Just remember, please follow, share, and then just enjoy this podcast. I'm really excited for the upcoming year as we pick up with many sports. But I have nothing else for you guys, so I will see you next week.